Very good evening, guys. Welcome to session 5 of Python programming. Just give a quick yes, just type quick yes if I am audible to you. Type yes if I'm audible. Okay. So I hope you are loving Python programming and solving problems that we are providing you on our portal. Okay. And if you have not registered for this course yet, you can find the link in the description and you can get access to this free course over there. Solve problems. There are MCQs that you can solve. There are practice problems that you can solve, and that will help you to enhance your learnings actually. Okay, so today's session is going to be about loops. What are loops? How we use them? Why we use them in programming? So we'll discuss about loops. Let me share my screen with you all. Okay, so first thing is why we need loops in programming language. Before diving into the looping world, first I'll show you this program. This is the output of certain program that I actually executed. Okay, and you need to guess how many print statements will be there. So this program has printed some uh, print statement, the hello several times. Can you guess the number of print statements in my program? If you can go to the voting link in the description and can submit your answers over there, right? You can get the voting link over there. You can submit your answers over there in the voting link. You have to guess the number of print statements in this function, in this program whose output is this. Click on the voting link in the description and submit your answers over there. Okay. Number of print statements in the program. Hurry up, hurry up. Fine. So we can see the most of you have submitted like it has 10. There are certain people who are saying there's one print statement. Okay, let me verify. This is the code that actually printed that provided you this output. Okay, so you can see there is one print statement, but it has been repeated multiple. In output you saw multiple print functions, multiple hello over there, but in program there is only single print statement. So every programming language provides you certain mechanism with the help of which you can actually repeat certain tasks, and this mechanism is called loops. Okay, I'll explain you what this program is actually doing, but before that you just have to look at this program. Here I am saying for I in certain, there is a list of numbers and I'm printing hello, I and hello, right? Just visualize this program as this for is simply a magician, okay, which can convert anyone to anything. And this I is a variable, right? Variable means its value can be changed. And then in this sentence, you can see we have a list of numbers. So in Python, how we have a separate session on list, but for right now, you can think a list is a collection of numbers. And if you want to create list in Python, just separate the numbers by comma and put them inside the square brackets like this. So whatever written over here is a list of numbers from 0 to 9. Okay. And after that, we have a colon over here. Colon we have already seen in case of if statements. And there we know that when we provided colon, after that we wrote down certain statements, certain indented statements. And those indented statements were actually the if statements, right? Why we call them if statements? Because those statements only executed when the condition of if was true. Similarly, here also we have for statements. Whenever we write the colon after this for syntax, then we have to write certain statements, certain indented statements, and these statements are called for statement. Here I have written single print statement. There can be multiple statements in the for body also. So I am representing these n statements like this, right? So I have for magician, I variable, then a list of numbers, and then we have certain statements in the for body, which we are calling for statements, right? Now what this magician do is actually is it changes the value of I. And after changing the value of I, there is one thing that he has to do. That is, he has to execute these for statements once. All the for statements one by one, right? So whenever it will change the value of I, it has to execute the for statements. Now, when I'm saying it will be changing the value of I, what values it will assign to I? The question arises, what values it will be assigning to I? Okay. So there, the solution to this is the list that we have with us. So this list of numbers we have, right? So for this for will do, it will start picking up the values from this list and will assign those values to I. And I've already told you, whenever it will change the value of I, it has to execute these for statements. So you can see the first element in the list is 0. So what this for will do, it will change the value of I to 0 like this. And after changing the value 0, it will execute all the statements, all the for statements, right? Next, what it will do, it will pick the next element from the list, which is 1, and assign that value to I, and then again has to execute the for statements. Similarly, it will convert the value of I to 2, then it will assign the third value, which is 3, then 4, then the value 5, then for 6. Okay, it will pick the values one by one, then 7, then 8, right? Picking this value 8 from the list, assigning it to I, and then when it changes the value of I, it has to execute this for statements. Now the final value of I is 9. It will change the value of I to 9 and execute the for statements. Now you see all the values from the list has been used by this magician. After this, its task is done. It won't be executing this for statements after this. So it has used all the values from the list and executed the for statements that many times. And after all the values from the for loop has been used, its task is done. So this is actually some animated way where I told you how this for will work. Now I'll show you how this for loop will actually work in your computer, right? So you see, this is the for loop that I have written, right? This for loop for I in this list, and I print I and hello. And I've added 2 more print statements here, one before the loop, which is printing before loop, and one after the loop. Now see, this red pointer is pointing to line number 1, where it is printing before loop. So when I click next, it will print before loop. Now you see here, I told you this for magician will assign the values one by one to I. So you can see when I executed once, here the value of I is 0, right? And it is executing the body of for, yani for statements. So in for statement, what I'm doing, I'm printing the value of I and hello. So it will print the value of I, which is 0, and hello. So the output, at output, it will be printed 0, comma, hello, 0 space hello. So 0 hello is printed. Now again for is here. So for will pick the next value, for will assign the next value of from the list to I. So see, when I click next, Next value is assigned to I, which is 1. So I value is 1, right? We have already seen this with the help of animation, but this is how it is being executed in the memory in your computer, right? So now the value of I is 1. This print statement will print 1 hello. See, again, the next value will be assigned to I this by this for, which is 2. And this statement will print 2 hello. Next value 3. It will print 3 hello. Next value 4. 4 hello. Next value is 5. 5 hello. Next value is 6. Now it will print 6 hello. Next value is 7. It will print 7 hello. Then 8. 8 hello. 9. 9 hello. And see, all the values from this list has been used. 9 has been assigned. It has been, the for statements are executed. Now this pointer will move from line number 2 to line number 4, that is outside the loop, you see. So the cursor pointer has moved from 2 to 4. Now it has exited the loop, and here it will print after the loop. So we have seen how this function actually executes in the computer as well, one by one, right? Now, one thing to note over here is we have used this for loop to repeat the certain thing. Here I wrote this print thing. This was repeated. So whenever I want to repeat certain thing, I can write that thing over here in for statements. Now, how many times it will be repeated? It is determined with the number of elements in the list. So we saw that we had 10 items in this list, right? 0 to 9. It is 10 numbers. So when we have 10 numbers, so my loop executed 10 times, right? So whenever, now I know how can I repeat a task certain number of times? I can use for loop, and for the task to be repeated, I'll put it in the body of for loop, and number of times I need to repeat, I'll provide a list with that many elements in it, right? I hope you have got this. Okay. Now, a simple program I had to write, which is printing the values from 1 to 10. Okay. So how can I can do this? Again, I can use this for loop, right? We have seen this thing. I can use for, then this variable I in, then I will define a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'll define a list like this, right? And inside the body, I'll print I. Will this code print this output or not? I'll verify this on the editor as well for you. So for I in, we'll define the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All the numbers has to be separated by comma. Then I put a colon. Now I print something like I. Now see, now if I run this program, you'll see numbers from 1 to 10 are printed. Okay, I hope this makes sense. So what I've done is I have printed the numbers from 1 to 10 using for loop. Now the question comes is I need to print the numbers from 1 to 100. Now, how can I do this? Will I have to add this 1 to 100 numbers into my list? Then I would be able to do it. This sounds quite infeasible because I cannot type all the numbers from 1 to 100 in my list, in this list, right? To print the numbers from 1 to 100. It's similar, like it will take the same amount of tasks for like using printing, using multiple print statements, right? So what I can do is Python will help you over there. Okay. So you don't have to worry about when you have to run your program 100 times. You don't have to provide 100 elements in the list, right? What you can do is you can use range function in Python. What this range function actually do? It takes two arguments, one start and end, and it will generate this list for you. So you don't have to worry about creating this list from 1 to 100. This range function can generate this list for you. Suppose I give the range here from 1 is the start and end is 10, right? So what it will do, it will generate a list from start to end minus 1. Start to end minus 1 means in case of 1 comma 10, it will generate a list from 1 to 9. So if I need to create a list from 1 to 10, I will pass 1 comma 11 in my range function. Okay, so let me use this range function in my program. So here I was printing the values from 1 to 10 using this list, right? But I have seen that the range function can help me to create a list like this. So if I use range 1 comma 11, it will create a list like this for me, and I should be able to see the same output as it was printing earlier, right? Now if I save this program and try to run this program, see, it is again giving me same output. So when I pass the list or I use the range function to pass the list, it will have the same impact. But the thing is, there I had to define a list for like for 100 elements, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 like this. So range function prevent this overwork from type over typing from 1 to 100, right? You can simply pass the start and the end. So see, if I need 100 elements, print 1 to 100. What I need to do in range, I just updated 1 comma 101. Now if I run this program, it will print numbers from 1 to 100. See this. So you don't have to use that list. You can simply use range function. One more thing to note over here is when you give start and end both, so this range function will give a list from start to end, but when you give only one argument into it, right? Then this range function will assume 0 as a starting point by default. So start will be 0 and end will be 101, right? So if I run this program, it will start from 0 rather than 1. See, it assumes that 0 is start if you are not providing any start into it. Okay, so we have used range function, we have used for loop, and we have used range function inside the for loop to repeat any task n number of times. I hope this makes sense. Now it's coding time and we need to write a simple program. It says write a program to print the multiplication table of any number entered by user. So multiplication table, we all know what it is. Like suppose this is the multiplication table of 2, where I say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? This is multiplication of table of 2. All of us are aware of it. Can you write a program using for loop to print a multiplication table of 2? If your answer is still no, you can think of this table in this way. 2 is 2 into 1, 2 into 2, 2 into 3, 2 into 4, 2 into 5, 2 into 6, 2 into 7, 2 into 8, 2 into 9, and 2 into 10, right? Now you see this. This is what we did in our previous program. We printed the values from 1 to 10 using for loop. Okay. So what we did, we used this syntax for I in range 1 comma 11. We printed I, right? And when we are printing I, instead of, so if I need to print the table of 2, instead of printing I, so this, when I print I, it will print the value from 1 to 10. Instead of print I, if I print 2 into I, don't you think it will print the table of 2, right? And what our program says, I need to write a program that will print the table of any number entered by user. So if I ask user to enter any number and suppose that is n, and I print n into I in this for loop, won't it print the table of n? Let us try to verify this on the editor. Okay, so let me create a new file. Name is suppose table.py. So first thing, we won't be writing actual code, we'll write the comments first. So first thing that we need to do is we'll prompt the user, enter the number. Then we'll use for loop to print table of that number. So prompting user to enter the number, we'll use, because it will be number, we'll use eval input, right? And give the message enter the number. I'll store it in a variable, suppose num. Now, after this, I need to use for loop for I in range. I'll give 1 comma 11. So it will go from 1 to 10. Okay. And see, suppose if I print I over here, what it will print? It will print the values from 1 to 10. Let me try to run this program. It's asking me to enter the number. Suppose I enter 2, but it will print the values from 1 to 10 only, because what I'm doing is I'm printing I over here. So it will print all the values of I 1 to 10, right? Now, if I want to print the table of this num, what I need to do, simply num into I. I hope this will help. Let me try to run this. Asking me to enter the number. Suppose I enter 2. See, it is printing the table of 2. Again, if I run and I was 13, it is printing the table of 13, right? So we have successfully written the program which can print the table of multiplication table of any number. I hope you're getting this. Okay. Now, when we have seen for loop to do a repetitive task, right? Now I'll take one example, and we'll try to use for loop there. Okay. So suppose this is me, and I want to dig so I want to do some digging at my home to get the water, underground water out. Okay. And for that, I have found this robo. This is digging robo. What it actually do is, whenever I say give him an instruction dig, right? What it do, it hits the hammer on the ground and dig 1 feet of the ground. Okay. Now suppose I think I'll get the water at 5 feet below the ground, right? So what will I have to do? I have to instruct my robo dig 5 times. I have to say dig 5 times to my robo, because when he hits, when I say dig 1 time, it will hit the hammer and will dig out the 1 feet at a time, right? So to dig out 5 feet, I'll have to say dig 5 times to this robo. So instead of saying dig 5 times, what I did smartly. I used this for loop and instructed him using this for loop. Okay. As we can see, for I in range 0, 5, this loop will run 5 times only. And this is in the body of loop. I have said dig. So I am instructing him dig 5 times using for loop. Okay. So in first iteration, when I say dig, what happens is it will dig out the first feet. In second iteration, it will dig out the second feet. In third iteration, the third feet. In fourth iteration, it will hit the hammer again and it will dig out the fourth feet. And in fifth iteration, it will dig out the fifth feet. Okay. So my task was to get the water out of it. I thought it will be, suppose, 5 feet below the ground. So I instructed my robo to dig 5 times, right? But water is still not available. Okay. So what I would have ideally done, I would have instructed my robo in such a way that keep on digging the ground till you get the water. Now the question is, for loops tell me, what the for loop wants? For loop wants the start and the end, right? For loop wants me to dig. For loop can only help me to dig a fixed number of times, right? Now what can happen is, it actually depends. When will I get water? I'll get after 5 diggings, I'll get water after 7 diggings, or I'll get water after 6 diggings. That all depends where I will start digging the ground. If I'll start at point O, at point A, I might get water after 5 diggings only. If I start digging at point B, I will get water after seven diggings, right? And if I'll start digging at C, I might get water at after 6 diggings only. Okay. So right now I'm not sure how many times I have to say dig to my robo, right? Because what for loop wants is, for loop wants the start as well as and. Okay, then only it will be able to repeat that task that number of times. But here the problem is number of repetition is not known to me. I don't know how many times the digging robo has to dig, right? It might depend where it is digging. So Python helps you when you don't know the number of repetition, number of times that you want to repeat the task. You can use while loop in that case. So with the help of while, what I can do is I can instruct my robo like this: while water not found, dig. So what will happen initially? Digging robo will see if water exists, water is there. If it is not there, it will dig, right? Again, it will check, is water there? No, it will again dig. Then it will check, water there? No, it will then again dig. Similarly, again, no water, again it will dig. No water, again dig. No water, it will again dig. Now see, it has got water. Now it will stop digging. It won't dig further. Okay. So what we have done is, with the help of while loop, I'm able to instruct my robo in such a way that till that condition is met, okay, keep on digging. So I can summarize this thing in a way. We have seen two scenarios. First scenario, where we knew the number of iterations before starting the task. So before starting any task, if I know how many times I'm going to repeat it, right? There I can use for loop. In second case, I didn't know the number of times I have to repeat the task before starting it, right? So when I'm starting some task, I'm not aware how many times I'm going to repeat it. I will be using while loop in those cases, right? So Python provides you two ways to repeat certain things: for loop and while loop. For loop I have discussed earlier, like here that you can use for I in range, and then you can put those statements to be repeated in the for statements, and those statements will be repeated that many number of times. Now we'll see what is while loop, how we are going to use while loop in our Python, right? So see, this while loop actually has a condition and a body, right? First of all, this condition is checked, and then the body of a loop is executed. Suppose this condition is true, then the body of while, that means the task to be repeated, will be executed. And again, the condition will be checked. After executing the body, the condition will be checked again. Suppose second time also the condition is true, then again the body will be executed, and again the condition will be checked. Now this time suppose the condition is false. What will happen? The body of while will not be executed, and the control will transfer out of the loop. Your loop will terminate. Okay, I'll take one example to explain this. See, here the value of I is 0, suppose, right? And I have a condition which says I is less than 5. And this is body of while which says I equals to, it is incrementing the value of I. So initially the value of I is 0. The condition will be checked. The condition will be I is less than 5. 0 is less than 5. Yes, it is true. So what will happen? This body will execute. It will increment the value of I to 1. So 0 plus 1 will be 1. So value of I has been incremented. Now again the condition will be checked. Now see, the value of I is 1. 1 is less than 5. Yes, condition is true. Again the body of while will be executed, which is increasing the value of I to 2. Condition will be checked again. The value of I is 2. 2 is less than 5. Yes, it is still true. So what will happen? Body will again be executed, and the value of I will be incremented to 3. 3 is still less than 5. Again, the value of I is incremented to 4. 4 is still less than 5. Condition is true. Then body will be executed, and the value of I will be 5. Now see, the value of I is 5. 5 is not less than 5. So what will happen? This condition is false. The body of while will not be executed, and loop will terminate over here only. And the control will get out of the loop. I'll show you this. This is through animation. Okay, I'll show you how Python program will actually execute these statements, right? So let me show you here. Here I have this value of I is 0. I is less than 5 and I equals to I plus 1. Same statements, right? But I have put this print before loop and print after loop. Two statements I have added so that I should know uh, when the loop started and when loop ended. Okay. Now you see the value of I is 0. So when I click next, here you can see the variable I is created whose value is 0. Now I have a print statement. It will print that loop is about to start, right? Now while I is less than 5, the value of I is 0. 0 is less than 5. The body of while, again, the body of while is the indented statements after the colon of while, right? So we have only one statement in the body of while, that is I equals to I plus 1. So what it will do, it will increase the value of I to 1. See, the value of I has increased to 1. Now, 1 is less than 5. Yes, it is still less than 5. So what will happen? It will again execute the body of loop, which is incrementing the value of I. Is incremented to 2. 2 is less than 5. Yes. Then 2 is incremented to 3. 3 is less than 5. Yes. 3 is incremented to 4. 4 is less than 5. Yes. 4 is incremented to 5. Now see, 5 is not less than 5. So where control will go? Control will go out of the loop, right? And it will execute the next statement out after the loop, which is printing here. So it will print after the loop. So you've seen how while is executing. Okay. So now I think it might be clear that how this while loop executes and how is it different from for. Now we'll take certain example and we'll try to solve this problem with the help of while loop. Okay. So suppose I want to do the sum of numbers from 1 to 9. I want to add all the numbers from 1 to 9. So it's very easy for me to do it, right? It's 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15, 15 plus 6 is 21, 21 is plus 7 is 28, 28 plus 8 is 36, and 36 plus 9 is 45. So I know the answer is 45, right? And it was easy for me to solve this. But suppose I have to add the numbers from 1 to 100. Would it be possible for me? It would be quite typical, right? I will need some pen and paper to store those values. So if I could write a program using while loop for this, then it would be easier for me. Okay. So what I'll do, I've already seen that if I say I equals to 1 and I'll say while I is less than 10 and I print I, this I will has all the values. So I will be first 1, then I will be value 2, I will be value 3, then I will be 4, then I will be 5, like this. So I know this, right? We have seen this just now. Now let me try to write a program for this. Let me write it in demo only. So I say I equals to while I is less than 10 and I print I, simply printing I. If I try to run this, see, okay, I have not incremented I, so it is printing I infinite times. So this will, because I'm not increasing the value of I, the problem here is I'm just printing I is 1 and I'm printing while I is less than 10. So what I need to do is I need to increase the value also. I equals to I plus 1. So every time I'll increase the value of I, it will generate that value. What I need to do, I equals to I plus 1. So when I didn't increase the value of I, it was printing the value of I was 1 every time, and this condition will be true forever. So it is printing 1 forever, right? Now what I've done is I have increased the value of I. Now if I'll run this, you'll see it is printing the values from 1 to 9. So this is what I wanted actually. I wanted the values from 1 to 9. So I have all the values from 1 to 9 for mine. So now what I need to do is I need to add all these values together. So I take a variable sum equals to 0 And before incrementing, what I need to do, I'll add these values to sum. And after that, once this loop executes, I'll print the sum. So I have seen with the help of while loop, I was able to create different values of I from 1 to 9. And when these values were generated, I am adding all those values to my variable, which is sum. And initially it is 0. Okay. Now, so now if I try to run this program, see, it is giving me sum is 45. So which I was expecting 45, it is giving me sum. Right? If this code is still not clear to you, I'll try to explain you this. Like what is happening behind the code is this. See, this was our code where we had the sum equals to 0. I has initial value 1, while I is less than 10. So this is the body of while, which will be repeating till I is value less than 10, right? And then when this whole loop is executed, all the values from I has all the values from 1 to 9, and all those values has been added to sum, right? Then we are printing the sum. Now you see, I'll execute this line one by one. So I say, when I say sum equals to 0, I have this carton, this box, variables of variable sum, it has value 0 inside it. And when I say I has 1, so I also has a box with value 1, right? Now I say while I is less than 10. So I'll keep on repeating these two statements while I will be less than 10. Okay. So when I say sum equals to sum plus I, so right now I is less than 10. Yes. So it is say sum equals to sum plus I. Sum equals to sum plus I means, see, you see the right hand side first, right? Sum plus I means get me the value of sum, add this value to I, right? Sum plus I means the value of sum plus the value of I, which is 0 plus 1 here, right? Then sum equals to sum plus means store this result back to this variable, yes, box sum. So what will happen now? Right now I is less than 10. Sum equals to sum plus I. Sum has value 0, I has value 1. So I'll fetch the value of sum, I'll fetch the value of I, I'll add those values together, and I'll store that value back. So this is what sum equals to sum plus I will do. 0 plus 1, and store that back in the sum into this sum variable. Now see this, what the second statement is saying. The second statement says increase the value of I by 1. So in the earlier I was 1. Now this value of I will be 2 because it is incremented. Again, we'll go to this loop, right? I is less than 10. Yes, still I is 2. 2 is less than 10. So what will happen? The value of sum will be fetched and it will be added to the value of I and will stored back to sum. See this. 1 plus the value of I, which is 2. The result will be 3, and this will be stored back into my sum box. And the value of I will be incremented. This will increase the value of I. So now I will become 3. 3 is still less than I. So what will happen? Sum equals to sum plus I. Okay. Sum plus I is 6, stored back into this, and I is incremented. Now I is 4. 4 is again less than 10. So 6 plus 4 will give me 10. 10 will be stored back into my carton sum. Okay. Then again, the value of I is 5, which is again less than 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. Okay. The value of I is incremented to 6. Now see, 6 is again less than 10. So 15 plus value of I, which is 6. 15 plus 6 is 21. Then I is incremented to 7. Then 21 plus 7 still. Now I is 8, which is again less than 10. 28 plus 8, which is 36, will be stored here. Now see, I is 9. I is less than 10, still less than 10. So sum equals to sum plus I, that means 36 plus 9 will be added and I'll have the value 45. Now see, I will again be incremented to 10. Now, when I will be incremented to 10 over here, I'll go there. I is less than 10. 10 is not less than 10. So what will happen? I'll get out of this loop and will move to this print statement here. And this print will print the value 45. So now you might have got why we were getting that value 45 after running this program. I hope this makes sense. What this statement is doing, sum equals to sum plus I, this might also have got clear to you. And why we are incrementing this, that also I've told you. If I won't do this increment, what will happen? It will keep on going infinite loop. So the value of I will remain same and it will be an infinite loop. Okay. I hope you got this. Now you tell me what change I will make in this program if I need to compute the sum from 1 to 100. What will I do? I need to compute the sum from 1 to 100. What change I will make in this program so that I can compute the sum from 1 to 100? I told you I equals to I plus 1 is to increment the value of I. If the value of I won't increment, then it will be an infinite loop, right? What change I should make in this program to compute the sum from 1 to 100? It has to be I less than 101. Okay. If it is less than 100, it will compute sum from 1 to 99, right? So take care of this thing, the limits, right? Otherwise you will be doing it wrong. Okay. Again, we need to, with coding time, what we need to do? We need to write a program that randomly generates an integer between 0 and 100 inclusive. The program prompts the user to guess the number and reports whether the guess is equal to low or high. Okay, guess is equal, too low or too high. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to write a program which will generate a random integer. So first thing that we need to understand is we need our program should be able to generate a random number, right? Random number between 1 and 100, sorry, 0 and 100, right? So it is saying I need to generate a random number between 0 and 100. So I will be discussing about the modules, the useful modules in the session, in later session. But right now I will tell you to generate a random number, there is a function called randint, right? We will have a long discussion on this. So if I need to generate a number between 0 and 100, I can simply pass randint 0, 100. So this will generate a random number between 0 and 100 for me. But this function is not there inbuilt in Python. I have to import some library of Python. So I'll tell you what is library, how do we do import. Just look at this syntax. So I'll write import random first, and then because I'm using the function of random library, I have to write it like this: random dot randint, and then I pass 0, 100. So I'll be using this syntax. I'll show you how this happens. Let me launch the Python shell over here. I'll see if I write import random and I write random dot randint 0, 100. Okay. See, it will give me some number. I'll do again. It will give me some another number. Again, some random number. This. You're getting this? So using this function, I can let my program to generate a random integer between 0 and 100. Okay. Now, what I need to do is I need to use this randint function to generate a number between 0 and 100. Suppose it generated some number which is like 43. Now this number will ask you, so what will happen? I am telling you what my program is going to do. So it will, my program will generate a random number 43. This number will be with my program only. Now we'll ask user to guess any number between 0 and 100. So what you will do, user will make some guess. User will enter some number between 0 and 100. Now this guess could be equal to correct, or it could be low, or it could be high. Then the number that we have generated. So you can see we have three possibilities here. So what we are going to do, we are going to use if, elif, else statements here, because there are three possibilities. When we'll compare the user guess with computer generated number, there are three possibilities. Either the guess could be low, guess could be correct, or guess could be high. So what we can do is we are going to use if, elif, else statements over here, right? So I'll try to write a program for this. Let us try. Let me create a file for this, new file, which is guess.py, suppose. Now, first thing that we need to do is we need to write the comments. So first thing that we need to do is we need to create, we need to generate a random number. Generate random number between 0 and 100. Next thing, we want user to guess the number between 0 and 100. Prompt user to guess number between 0 and 100. Now see, when user has made the guess, we need to compare the user guess with the computer number. Compare user guess with computer number. Right? So now we'll write the code. So to generate a random number, I have seen random.randint, and we pass 0, 100, right? And because it will give me a number, I have to store it in a variable. So let me name this variable as computer number. Computer number. And if I have to use the random library functions, I need to import random library first. Okay, this is done. I have generated a random number between 0 and 100. Now I need to ask user to enter a number between 0 and 100. So I'll ask eval, because it is going to be a number. So I put a message, enter a guess between 0 and 100. When user will make a guess, I need to store it in a variable. Let it be guess. Right? What I've done two steps. Computer has generated a number and user has entered the guess. Now what I need to do, I need to compare. Comparison, I've told you, I have three cases. So what I'll do, if guess is less than computer number, right? So guess is less than, so I need to print guess is low. Elif, second case was when guess is equals to. I need to print correct. And see, when guess is not less than, guess is not equals to, guess is going to be greater than. So else will be my default case where I don't have to write the condition. I can simply say print, because if it is not less than, it is not equals to, it is going to be greater than. So I'll say guess is too high. So I've written a program. I'll try to run this program, right? Let me exit the shell first and then run the program. Python guess.py. It's asking me to enter. So it has generated some guess and it is asking me to enter a guess. Now if I enter, suppose 34, it's saying guess is too low. So the number generated by computer was some larger number than 34, right? I hope this program is clear to you. So we have written a program which can uh, actually tell whether the guess was low, high, or correct, right? Now you need to do one thing. We need to write another program, or we need to update this program. So it says modify the previous guess number program such that the program prompts the user to enter the number continuously until it matches the randomly generated number. So what happened is the program we wrote just now was only telling me the number is the guess is high, low, or correct, right? But what do I want is I want user to enter a number. Like I want user to keep on guessing till he is able to make the correct guess. And our program should tell him whether his guess is low or high so that he can choose the other guess, the next guess intelligently. Right? You're guessing this. So we are going to repeat this task of asking user to input the guess, and we will tell him whether it's low or high or correct, right? And we'll keep on do this thing till user enters the correct guess, right? Okay, so let me show you what actually we are going to do is, so this was our program where we had this computer number, we asked the user guess, and this was our program, right? This was our program. Now I need to mark certain statements which I will be repeating again and again. Okay, so tell me, will I need to repeat this statement again and again? Generating random number. A number will be generated once only. User will be making guess again and again. So this statement needs not to be repeated, right? But this thing where we are asking user to enter the guess, right? So user will be inputting uh, the guess again and again till he makes the correct guess. So this statement will be repeated, right? And we will again and again will need to tell after every guess made by user that the status of the guess, whether the guess was high, low, or correct. So this statement is also needs to be repeated again and again. Okay, so I'll mark these statements to be repeated and separate my program like this. So I have separated into two parts. Now this piece of code has to be repeated. Now you tell me, I need to use for loop in this case or while loop in this case. Which loop I should use? For loop or while loop? I need to repeat these tasks, but for repeating these tasks, asking user to enter the guess and telling him the status of the guess, should I use for loop or while loop? Okay. Tell me one thing. Do we know in how many attempts user will be able to make the correct guess? Do we know? We don't know that how many times user will take, how many attempts user will take to make the correct guess. So this is going to be unknown number of iterations. We don't know how many times we are going to repeat this task, right? It might be user might be able to guess correctly on the first attempt. User might take 10 attempts to make the correct guess, or user might take 100 attempts to make a correct guess, right? So we will be using while loop in this case. We cannot use for loop, right? Because we don't know the number of iterations are not fixed in this case. So what we need to, I need to have a condition, and after this condition is true, I'll execute this, and all again after executing this, so I'll put this in my while body, and again I will check the condition, and when the condition is false, I'll get out of this. So this will be my structure of my program. Now the question is, till what condition I'm going to repeat this? So I know I'm going to ask for guess, and I'm going to compare the guess till user guess is not equals to the computer generated number, right? So as soon as the number, both the guess and computer number becomes equal, I need not to ask for further guesses, right? So I'll get out of the loop. So till the guess is not equals to computer number, I'll be repeating this task. Okay. So let me modify our program like this only. So this was our program. These were the tasks to be repeated, right? So I need to put them in while body. First, I write while guess is not equals to computer number. And then I have to put all these in the while body. So I'll put them indented here after the colon. So now all these statements entering the guess and comparing the guess has moved to the body of while, right? And the program is complete. Let me try to run this. Okay, it is giving me certain error, which is name error. Can you guess what error it is? Why it is giving me this error? It says name guess is not defined. Now see, what will happen if I'll ask you to return back my money, even if I have not given you any money? What will you do? If I'll ask you, say, hey, give me my money, right? Hey, return back my money. What will you say? What money you're talking about, man? I have not borrowed any money from you, right? That is what you will say if you have not borrowed any money and I'll asking you to return it back, right? Similarly, what happens is here you see what I'm doing here. I am assigning a value or initializing this variable guess at line number 7, but I'm trying to compare the value of guess with computer number at line number 5. So Python program when you say Python compare the value of guess with computer number, it says, hey, which guess you are talking about? I don't know. It does not have any value, right? So what I can do is I can simply give it an initial value, suppose -1. This -1, why I'm giving -1 value? Because user will never guess -1. It will always guess between 0 and 100, right? So initially, if the value of guess is -1, it is never going to be equals to computer generated number. So this loop will execute one time. First time it will always execute, right? After user has made the guess, then this loop will execute depending on the user guess, right? Now see, now if I save this program and try to run this, it is asking me to enter the guess number guess between 0 and 100. Suppose I enter 20. It is saying guess is too high. So guess is too high means my next guess should be lower than this. So what? Let me enter 1. It is saying guess is too low. Let me enter 10 this time. It is saying guess is too low. Let me enter 15 this time. It is saying guess is low. Let me enter 18 this time. It is saying guess is low. So 20 was high, 18 is low, it could be 19. It is saying guess is correct, right? So now I never know that how many times it is going to be repeated, right? It could be 5 times, it could be 2 times, it could be 500 times, right? But that's why we have used while loop. I hope this makes sense. You have got this program. So what we have seen is we have created a program which was actually giving me output once only. So I repeated that task using while loop and till some condition, right? So now you have learned how to repeat certain tasks uh, in your program till some condition, right? So this was about for loop and while loops. Okay, let me one more quiz for you. So what you need to do is you need to tell me for, I'm writing a for loop here for I in range. Suppose I give 10 for, and for inside a for, right? In range 10. Okay. You need to tell me how many times this print statement will be executed. So if you know the answer, if you can figure the answer out, you go to the voting link, okay, and submit your votes over there. So there are four options: 10, 9, 100, 81. You need to tell me how many times this for loop will execute. This print statement will execute. Here is the code. Submit your solutions first. So you can see I have a for loop inside a for loop, right? For I in range 10, for j in range 10, I'm printing something. You have to tell how many times this print statement will be executing. Okay, some are saying 10 times, some are saying 9 times, some are saying 100 times. Okay, hurry up, all of you. Okay, so some are saying 9, 10, 100, right? 9 and 10 are equal, 40%, 40, but 20% are saying this. Okay, let me show you how it is going to work. See, if I need to count, what I can do is I can simply take a variable over here. Count equals to, initially it is 1, 0, and every time it is executed, it will be count equals to count 1. And after both the for loops executed, I'll print the value of count. I see. If I run this, run 100 times. Got this? Why it is happening? See, for I in range, so will have, I can explain you over here. So it says for I in range 10, and for j in range 10, it says. Now you see one thing. For I in range 10, what will happen? It will create a list of numbers from 1 to 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's 9. And when I say for j in range, so it will again create a list of 0 to 9. So what will happen is, for I, this for will convert the value of I to 0 first. I will be 0 and j will be 0, 1, 2, 3 till 9, right? J will have all the values from 0 to 9 for the value of I equals to 0. So when I is 0, J will have all the values from 0 to 9. So when I is 1, J will again have all the values from 0 to 9. So this loop will run for I is 0, J will run 10 times. For I is 1, J will run 10 times. For I is 2, J will again run 10 times. So this actually the whole print statement over here in this for will execute 10 times, right? 10 into 10 times. So I will have 10 values and J will have 10 values. So 10 into 10 will be 100. And I've showed you the proof by counting it using the variable count. Okay. I hope this is clear to you all. Any queries regarding this session? If you have any queries, you can just ask. Right now we can have 2 minutes. You understood what I was trying to explain you? What is for loop? How we are going to use for loop? Where we need while loops in Python, right? Where we'll be using while loop, where for loop cannot work for us. So I hope you got the idea. And I also showed you how you are going to repeat some task n number of times using loops, right? So first we wrote a simple program, then we iterated it with the help of loops. Any queries? Your queries are welcome. If you have any query regarding the session, okay. So fine, this was all for today's session. Thank you guys. I hope you are enjoying the sessions and it would be fruitful for you. It you are getting some benefits out of these sessions, right? And keep on solving the problems on the Geeks for Geeks portal. That will help you to fetch the certificates, right? Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.